Hey guys, tonight we drift back through time, way past the philosophers, the wars, even the toga parties, to the sleepy slopes of Mount Olympus, where the gods were petty, the mortals were unlucky, and the satyrs, well, they were very confident in their musical skills. You find yourself lounging in a golden meadow, the air humming with lazy cicadas. A warm breeze carries the scent of laurel and sun-warmed grapes. And right in the middle of it all, reclining like he owns the cosmos, is Apollo. His skin glows like he moisturizes with solar flares, and he's delicately plucking a stringed instrument that sounds like heaven dipped in honey. This, you quickly realize, is a god who knows he's hot stuff. Literally. The sun follows him around. He's got cheekbones that could cut marble, and the smug grin of someone who's never once been told no. You're not here to win anything. You're just a soft observer, sinking slowly into the fluffiest mythological pillow imaginable. But don't get too comfy just yet. This story, it doesn't end well for everyone. In fact, you probably wouldn't survive this if you were a woodland creature with a flute and too much self-esteem. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing just how far this cozy corner of the universe reaches. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Apollo, god of music, prophecy, plague because balance, and general aesthetic superiority, is tuning his lyre in the sunlight. Each note drips like honey into the grass. Nearby birds stop singing, not because he silenced them, but because even they know they've been outclassed. This is what being divine looks like. You don't just perform, you radiate art. The lyre is made of polished tortoiseshell and gold strung with silver wires, and somehow the notes it makes taste like warm bread and fig jam in your mouth. The Greeks had 9 muses to inspire creative brilliance. Apollo didn't need any. He was the muse. You stroll lazily through his temple, or maybe just his favorite tree grove, hard to tell where Olympus ends and his vacation home begins. Marble columns, laurel wreaths, a pile of accolades from mortals who named every artsy prize after him. He's not just a god, he's a brand. Some say his musical abilities came from childhood training, others whisper it was just divine birthright. Historians still argue whether his cult in Delphi focused more on his music or his mysterious oracles, but everyone agrees. When Apollo plays, you listen. And yet, tonight, you can sense a ripple on the surface of this golden calm. The air has that plot is about to thicken tingle. Somewhere, not far from the radiance of this lounging god, someone else is picking up an instrument. Not a lyre, not a harp, a flute. And not a polished, heavenly deity-certified flute either. This one's made of bone, or maybe wood, or maybe something you really don't want to Google too hard. But that's a story for the next section. For now, Apollo keeps playing. Maybe not because he has an audience, but because he likes the sound of his own perfection. You can't blame him. If you glowed like the sun and sounded like music itself, you'd be insufferable too. Still, something about his fingers tightens, just slightly. Like even he feels a shift coming, a challenge, a storm, a goat-legged wildcard with no boundaries and a second-hand flute. But that's later. For now, you stay in the music, drifting. As golden strings hum in the background of a tale that hasn't gone sideways yet. You're meandering through the foothills now, away from Apollo's golden spotlight and into a patch of forest that smells faintly of wild thyme and questionable decisions. The trees here grow a little messier, the shadows dance a bit looser, and the air is filled with that chaotic buzz that only follows creatures who are part man, part animal, and 100% likely to crash your party. You hear a snort, not the polite kind. The I just tripped over my own hooves kind. And there he is. Marsyas. He's not what you'd call elegant. He's not glowing. His hair is curly and tangled like someone tried to brush it once and then gave up halfway through. He's covered in dust, wearing some form of toga that might have been white in a previous life, and his legs end in the unmistakable shape of a goat. He's a satyr, nature's wild card. But he's holding something. It looks simple. Just a flute. 2 pipes, to be exact. The kind of thing that shouldn't stand a chance in a divine concert hall, let alone against a god with a built-in spotlight. But Marsyas, he's intrigued. See, this flute isn't just any lost artifact. Legend says it belonged to Athena. Yes, that Athena. Helmeted, wise, terrifying in a don't-mess-with-me way. She made this flute, tried playing it once, saw her own face puffed up like a balloon in a pond's reflection, and immediately chucked it into the woods out of pure aesthetic horror. Can't ruin the brand. So Marsyas finds this abandoned flute and thinks, this is my moment. Not, why would a goddess discard something? Not, should I touch this clearly cursed item? Just cool, free instrument. And so he blows into it. The sound is rough, raw, earthy. It doesn't float like Apollo's lyre, it slices through the air like wind whistling through a canyon. It startles birds. It makes a squirrel drop its acorn. It also makes Marsyas's eyebrows jump, because, wow, that actually sounded kind of amazing. The more he plays, the more the flute responds, like it's been waiting for someone less polished, less divine. Someone with messy fingers and calloused palms who doesn't care if his cheeks puff out while he plays. This music isn't golden, it's muddy and alive and stomping its hooves. Before long, animals start circling, not because they're enchanted, but because they're curious. A boar grunts along, a tree frog chirps back. And Marsyas, he is feeling it. He's spinning, twirling, fluting with reckless abandon. It's not Apollo's quiet control, it's chaos. And somehow it works. Now here's a curious detail. Some fringe scholars believe that Marsyas wasn't just a satyr, but a Phrygian, a mortal musician who symbolized Eastern culture clashing with the Greek elite. They argue this myth is less about music and more about xenophobia wrapped in a toga. Historians still debate whether he was meant to be a cautionary tale or a cultural martyr. But none of that matters to Marsyas. He's standing in a grove, sweat glistening on fur, flute at the ready, and the animals cheering, or at least not running away. He plays until the sky turns the color of overripe figs, until his hooves ache from dancing. And then, maybe because he's high on the crowd's energy, or maybe because he's the ancient equivalent of a YouTube commenter with too much confidence, he says the thing. The challenge. I could beat Apollo in a music contest. Now, to be clear, no one asked him to say this. No one suggested it. But Marsyas doesn't do quiet reflection. He does shout into the cosmos and see what happens. So he calls out the god of music, the sun, and good cheekbones, while holding a flute discarded by a goddess. Bold. You feel the trees shiver a little. A crow overhead caws like it knows this is not going to go well. But Marsyas just laughs. He's not afraid. He doesn't do afraid. And somewhere, far above the clouds, Apollo raises an eyebrow. The challenge has been heard. And you, dear sleeper, are about to witness the ancient world's most uneven musical duel, all because a furry woodland guy couldn't resist an abandoned flute and a bad idea. By now, word of the challenge has rippled through Olympus like spilled nectar at a divine dinner party. Apollo's not mad exactly. He's amused. Like when someone confidently challenges a chess grandmaster but keeps calling the pieces horses and little castles, and yet there's a glint in his eye. You can almost hear the divine sigh. Fine, if we must. You find yourself walking through a forest path that's suddenly a lot busier than usual. Satyrs are whispering, nymphs are giggling behind ivy curtains. Even a dryad peeks her leafy head from a tree trunk just to mutter, "Wait, who's challenging Apollo?" Marsyas is pacing in a clearing, rehearsing flute scales with the focused panic of a student before finals. His fur is fluffed, his nerves are high, his hooves keep clicking on stones like a metronome made of anxiety. Apollo arrives in style, of course. He doesn't walk, he glides. A beam of sunlight filters through the trees like it's making room for him. Laurel wreath, on point. Robe, perfectly wrinkle-free. Lyre, polished to a holy gleam. And behind him, the muses. Yes, those muses, the 9 daughters of Zeus and Mnemosyne. They are not exactly impartial. You know how it is when your cousin shows up with his friends and says, "Don't worry, they'll judge fairly." Spoiler, they won't. Clio, muse of history, is already scribbling notes like this is going in her next scroll. Erato, muse of love poetry, is low-key swooning. Even Thalia, the muse of comedy, can't hide her grin. Marsyas squints. "Wait, are they judging?" he asks, suspicious. Apollo smiles like a politician at a rigged debate. Of course, the finest critics in all the realms. You roll your eyes for Marsyas. It's not exactly a neutral panel. But hey, he asked for this. As the contest is announced, woodland creatures shuffle into the audience area. Yes, there's an audience. Squirrels perch on branches, deer nibble nervously at grass, and a couple of satyrs bring snacks like this is a forest open mic night. Someone selling fig juice in clay cups. Capitalism, even in myth. The rules, pretty vague. Best music wins. No amplification, no duets, just raw sound. Marzius steps up first. He closes his eyes, breathes, and then he plays. It's not clean. It's not polished. But oh, is it alive? His flute sings like wind through pine trees, like a rushing river after rain. His notes dip and soar, unexpected and unrefined, but real. The audience leans in. Even a squirrel pauses mid-chew. There's something deeply human, or maybe deeply goat, in the way he plays. It's not about perfection, it's about heart. And for a brief moment you think, maybe? Then Apollo steps forward. No deep breath, no hesitation. Just him, the lyre and silence that holds its own breath. His fingers dance, the strings shimmer. It's not just music, it's all cosmic, calculated. Like each note was plucked from the math behind the stars. The wind calms down. The sun glows warmer. You feel your pulse slow. It's soothing in a way that borders on hypnosis. Apollo doesn't just perform, he dominates the atmosphere. When he finishes, there's no applause, just reverent silence. Even the muses look a little drunk on harmony. Marzius exhales sharply. He knows what just happened, but he's not out yet, because the contest isn't over. They both played once. The crowd murmurs, some favor the wildness, others favor the polish. It's closer than anyone expected. And you? You're perched on a rock, letting the tension swirl around you like mist, feeling the weight of ancient hubris, divine arrogance, and one very determined satyr with nothing to lose. Tomorrow, they'll play again. And tomorrow, the rules might change. Because if there's one thing gods love more than winning, it's not playing fair.